Welcome to Sleep with Fear. I'm your host, here to guide you into sleep through the shadows. Each night, I'll share eerie, unsettling stories designed to send chills down your spine just as your eyes begin to close. If you enjoy the darkness, don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment telling me what scares you the most. When my grandfather passed away, he left behind a house no one wanted. It was ancient, creaking at every step, and buried at the edge of a forest that seemed darker than it should be. My parents planned to sell it, but first someone had to catalog what was inside. I volunteered. The house was suffocatingly quiet, the kind of silence that pressed against your ears. Dust floated through the sunbeams like ash. Most of the rooms were exactly what you'd expect. Old furniture, faded photos, locked trunks filled with moth-eaten clothes, except for one room upstairs. The door had 3 locks on it, newer than the rest of the house. When I asked my dad about it, he looked confused. "There's no locked room upstairs," he said. "We had every key. Nothing was locked." But it was. On the 3rd day, I found the keys in a cigar box inside the attic. One by one, they clicked into place. I opened the door. It was a small study, dark green walls, a single desk, and an old analog TV facing an armchair. The TV was on, white static crackling softly. I stood frozen. The house didn't have power. No lights, no fridge hum, nothing. But that TV buzzed like it had never been turned off. I should have walked away, but the static was mesmerizing. As I stepped in, the door slammed shut behind me, and the air changed. It felt charged, like the moment before a lightning strike. My ears popped. On the screen, the static shifted, just slightly, like something moved behind it. A shape, a silhouette, standing, watching. I took a step back. The static spoke, a garbled voice, layered under the white noise. "You shouldn't be here." I turned to run, but the door was gone. Not just shut, gone. Smooth wall where it used to be. The screen flickered again. The silhouette was closer. I pressed myself against the wall, trying to scream. No sound came from my mouth. Only the TV buzzed, growing louder, sharper, like a blade grinding against glass. Then, the static cut out, and I saw myself on the screen, sitting in the armchair, eyes open, mouth slightly parted, completely still. The silhouette stood behind me, long fingers resting on my shoulders. The screen went black. When I blinked, I was outside the room. The door was sealed shut again. I ran, left the house, and never went back. But sometimes, when I flip past channels too fast late at night, I catch a flicker of that same room, that same armchair, and every time, I swear the person sitting there looks more and more like me. When I was 8, I spent a week at a rundown summer camp tucked deep in the woods. Camp Evergrove, they called it. My parents thought the isolation and fresh air would help me disconnect. All I remember is the cold air, the smell of mildew, and that bunkhouse. Cabin 9. It had 6 beds, 3 bunk beds, each stacked 2 high. But there were only 5 campers in our group. That meant one bed was always empty. Or, it should have been. The first night, I took the top bunk of the 3rd bed. Beneath me was a quiet kid named Martin. He barely spoke, always scribbling in a little leather notebook. Around midnight, I was awoken by the soft creak of the wooden frame shifting beneath me, as if someone was climbing the ladder. I opened my eyes. No one there. But I felt the weight, like someone had settled beside me. I reached out in the dark. Only empty air. Still, the bed dipped slightly. I heard faint breathing, rhythmic, calm. I didn't sleep the rest of the night. The next morning, I asked Martin if he came up during the night. He just looked up from his notebook and muttered, "It's not me, it's her." I asked who her was. He didn't answer. That night, I stayed up on purpose, my flashlight ready, eyes fixed on the room. Everyone else was asleep. The cabin groaned with the wind. Then, at exactly 2:13 a.m., the room dropped several degrees. I could see my breath. The ladder creaked. The mattress shifted. I turned on the flashlight. No one. Just the indentation of a body in the sheets next to me. And something else. Long black strands of hair curled on the pillow. Not mine. I screamed. The counselors dismissed it as a bad dream. But every night after, she came back. Always at 2:13. Always silent. Martin finally spoke up on the fourth day. We sat behind the mess hall while he drew something. "It happened last year," he said. "A girl in the third bunk. She climbed to the top during a storm and fell off. Broke her neck. They say she didn't die right away. She laid there, unable to scream, just staring up, waiting for help." He handed me his drawing. It was her. Lifeless eyes, snapped neck, mouth twisted open like it was mid-scream. I didn't sleep the last 2 nights. On the final morning, I found Martin's bunk empty. His notebook sat on his pillow, open to one final page. "She's in the walls now. She's not lonely anymore." Years later, Camp Evergrove shut down. Mold infestation, unsafe structures. But I looked it up recently. Cabin 9 still stands. And some nights, campers say you can see the outline of a girl sitting on the top bunk of the third bed, hair draped across her face, waiting. It started the night my daughter told me about the man in the window. "Daddy, he watches me sleep." I turned to face her. Her voice was quiet but certain. Her little finger pointed toward the second-story window in her room. But when I looked, there was nothing. Just the swaying oak branches and the moon casting silver patterns on the glass. "There's no one there, sweetheart," I assured her, tucking the blankets under her chin. "It's just shadows." She nodded, unsure, and I kissed her forehead. I checked the locks on every window and door that night, just to be safe. All sealed, nothing outside, just wind and leaves. But the next night, she said it again. He smiled this time. His mouth was too big. That description chilled me. I slept in her room that night, sitting in a chair by the door. I kept the lamp on low. Around 3 a.m. I dozed off. When I opened my eyes again, she was sitting up, staring at the window, frozen like prey. I turned my head slowly. There was a face, pale as chalk, motionless, just watching. The features were smeared, like they'd been dragged downward, sunken eyes, expressionless. And then, slowly, it tilted its head. I lunged for the window and threw it open. Nothing. The roof beneath the window was steep and offered no footholds. We lived in a rural area, no neighbors close enough to play a prank. I called the police. They searched the perimeter. No footprints, no ladders, no sign of anyone. That night, I nailed her window shut. But the face came back, night after night, always staring, never blinking. Sometimes it would tap, just once, then smile with that grotesque, stretched mouth. I bought cameras, pointed them directly at her window. But when I reviewed the footage in the morning, it would cut out between 2:57 and 3:03 a.m., every single time. The police shrugged it off. A technical glitch, they said. Maybe a software update. So I set up an old camcorder. No Wi-Fi, no glitches. I pressed record, sat in her room, waited. 3 a.m., the tapping began. 5 short taps. I turned. The window was wide open. She was gone. The blankets were still folded like I had just tucked her in. I ran to the window, screaming her name. Far below, in the woods behind our house, I saw movement. A pale figure, gliding between the trees. And in its arms, something small. She was never found. The camcorder tape played only static, but faintly, beneath the white noise, I could hear her voice.
"Daddy, he's smiling again."
It started with a voicemail I shouldn't have received. My phone buzzed just after 2 in the morning. I was already awake, tangled in that sleepless tension you can't explain, just an eerie sense that something was wrong. The notification said, "New voicemail, unknown caller, 2:02 a.m. No missed call, just the voicemail. Curious and uneasy, I played it. Static greeted me, faint at first, then layered beneath it a voice. It was distant, like it was coming through an old radio buried underground. I could just barely make out the words. "I'm still here, can't move." Then came the breathing, wet and shallow, desperate, a gasp, and then silence. The message ended. I sat there, staring at my screen, heart thudding. I replayed it. This time the words were even clearer. Under the floor. I deleted the message. Told myself it was some kind of prank, a wrong number, a spoofed call, maybe even a glitch. But something about the voice haunted me. It wasn't familiar exactly, but it felt like someone I knew. Like a dream voice calling your name from a place you're not supposed to remember. The next night, another voicemail. Same unknown number. Again, no missed call. This one was worse. The voice cracked, like it was speaking through clenched teeth. Each word choked by static and something else. A dragging sound. Nails on wood, metal against dirt. It said, "Getting darker, smells like soil. Please, help." Then a low hum, mechanical, almost like an old refrigerator struggling to breathe. I called the number back, straight to voicemail. I contacted my provider. They told me the number wasn't in service, didn't exist. That night, I stayed awake. At exactly 2:02 a.m., my phone lit up again. New voicemail. I didn't listen. I grabbed my keys and left. Just drove, like I could outrun a signal. I ended up at some empty gas station miles from home. I checked my phone again. 3 new voicemails. I played the first. "I hear you walking." I dropped the phone. The second message, "You're close. I can hear your blood moving." The third was just thudding, soft, steady, followed by a whisper, "You stepped on me." I didn't go home after that. I crashed at my brother's place, didn't answer calls, changed my number. Nothing happened. Days passed. Silence returned. I thought maybe it was over, until last night. I woke at 2:02 a.m. No buzzing, no call, just a muffled sound, faint, coming from beneath the floorboards in my brother's guest room. A ring, familiar, distorted. I pressed my ear to the hardwood floor. It was my old phone, the one I'd smashed and tossed away. It was ringing. Then it stopped. A pause. And then, soft knocking from below. Once, twice. Then a whisper so close I could feel it on my skin. There's a mirror in my apartment I try not to look at. It came with the place, an antique floor-length mirror, bolted into the wall like it had always been there. The frame is carved with strange floral patterns that twist and curl like vines choking something beneath them. It's heavy, solid, old. I should have taken it down the day I moved in. The first time I noticed something was wrong, I was brushing my teeth. I leaned forward to spit, then glanced up, and froze. My reflection hadn't moved. It just stared back at me, toothbrush still in its mouth, still foaming. My real hand was already at the sink. A second later, it caught up, blinked, mimicked, like it had to think first. I laughed it off. Bad lighting. Maybe I was tired. But then it started happening more often. I'd walk past the mirror and see myself already there, waiting, motionless, watching me approach. Once, I turned away from it, just for a second, and when I looked back, my reflection was still facing the mirror, back turned, unmoving. I told myself it was a trick of the eye, that maybe the mirror was warped, or maybe I was just imagining it. But that theory fell apart last week. I was getting ready for bed, standing shirtless in front of the mirror. As I turned off the light, I caught movement in the reflection, something subtle. My reflection didn't turn away, it just smiled. I didn't. I flipped the light back on. My heart was pounding. The reflection reset, standing neutral, blank-faced, like nothing had happened. I covered the mirror that night with a bedsheet, taped the corners down. I thought that would be the end of it. But at 3:11 a.m., I woke up to the sound of fabric shifting. I sat up, listened. Another soft rustle. Then a low, slow dragging, like something sliding along glass. I turned on the lamp. The sheet was on the floor. The mirror was uncovered. And in the reflection, I was still asleep, curled under the blankets, eyes closed, breathing steady. It was me, in the mirror, still sleeping. I stared at it, cold sweat dripping down my back. Then the reflection twitched. Not the version of me in the bed, but the one watching. It tilted its head and smiled again. I looked down at my hands. I touched my face. I felt real. But something in my chest, it felt wrong, like I wasn't fully inside myself. That's when I understood. I'm not the one outside the mirror anymore. Whatever I'm looking at, it's just pretending to be me. And every time I blink, it gets better at it.